Well, hello, everybody. Happy marvelous Monday to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am excited that you are here with me. It's been a while. It seems like it's been a long time, probably because I went on a vacation and I just flew in today. As a matter of fact, I flew in just so that I could do this landlord and tenant session live just for you. All right, so today we are going to finish the conversation. We know that May is the month of mental health awareness. And so we're going to further the conversation about mental health and how landlords should legally handle tenants who are mentally ill. So, just a brief introduction, guys. I'm Karissa Span, the landlord and tenant coach. This is what I do each and every Monday right here on my Facebook and YouTube channel. So if you are tuned in by way of Facebook, please find me on YouTube and click that subscribe button. I love to know where my viewers are watching from because I try to give information that is beneficial and helpful for all of you in the various jurisdictions. So please let me know where you're watching from. I am based out of the DC metropolitan area. I love what I do. I love making a difference. And so I have been in the property management arena for well over 28 years in the capacity of a property manager, a real estate agent, a certified housing quality standard inspector, tax credit specialist, HUD housing certified occupancy specialist, housing choice voucher program, Section 8 specialist, and the list goes on and on and on. But I'm not here to talk about my background or to give you my resume because I am not looking for employment. This is what I do. I enjoy it, and I'm glad that you're here. So please do me a favor, like and share this broadcast today if you're watching live. Thank you so much. And if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. All right. So if you have questions or if you have comments, go ahead and drop it in the comment section, and I will respond to all of them accordingly, if that's all right. All right, so we are furthering the conversation about mental health awareness. All right, so I just want to acknowledge a few people who are here today. Hello, Kimberly Parker from South Carolina. Thank you so much for tuning in. Kim, I know that you are doing amazing things down in South Carolina in property management. I just want to say kudos to you. I want to take my hat off to you because I know that you understand the feat that we have with trying to provide a service, especially for tenants who are impacted or have some sort of mental health illness. So thank you so much for that. Hey, V. Scott, thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, Red Carpet. Hello, beautiful. Sissy, thank you so much for tuning in from Brooklyn, New York. New York is in the building, guys. Okay, Red Carpet, I see you. You're tuning in from Fort Washington, Maryland. Listen, guys, go ahead and tag some people. Just throw their names in the comment box, and maybe they'll have an opportunity or a chance to join us in the live conversation today, or maybe they will watch the replay. So if you had an opportunity to check out the description, we are talking about ways that landlords, housing providers, should best handle tenants who are mentally ill. Okay. Mental illness is something that is on the forefront, is on the mind of a lot of people around the country, including HUD. And so it's a topic that I wanted to continue with the discussion for the entire month of May. This is all I'm talking about. Now, of course, if you have other questions, I'm here to answer those, but I definitely want to tackle this situation because landlords throughout the nation, throughout the United States, are impacted by tenants who have mental health illnesses. Now, here's the thing about mental health. Sometimes you cannot just look at a person and tell they have an illness. And so what do you do when you come across tenants who have a disability? Can you ask them what their disability is? So I wanted to poll my audience. I'm really putting that question out there for those of you who are just maybe tuning in for the first time, maybe as a landlord or a tenant. Is it okay? And just put your comment in a chat box, whether yes or no. Is it okay to ask an applicant or a tenant what their disability is? Hello, Reverend Dr. Baker. Thank you so much for tuning in. Beautiful, happy, marvelous Monday to you. All right, so question. Can a landlord ask a tenant what their disability is? Can you put that response in the chat box? All right, Dr. Baker, you the first to respond. You said no. All right, Red Carpet said no. All right, anybody else? Does anybody disagree? All right, let me pause there. Hey, Pete, thank you so much for tuning in from Baltimore. Baltimore City is in the building, guys. V, what is your comment? You said no. Okay, does anybody have a difference of opinion? Does anybody beg to differ? Does anybody think otherwise? All right, Sissy, you said no. All right, does anybody disagree? All right, I want to know if anybody disagree with this, and I would like to hear their response. But the answer is no, you cannot, as a landlord, or if you're a tenant, a landlord cannot ask a prospect, an applicant, or a tenant what their disability is. That is a violation of fair housing laws. And so I'm sharing this information so that you all will know how to prevent from being sued, because guess what? Tenants can sue landlords. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's your tenant or not. I believe a week or two ago, I shared a story where a family, true story, a family sued a landlord for discriminating. They didn't even live at the rental property, but they were still able to sue because this landlord violated fair housing laws. And this tenant, or this prospect rather, they knew their rights. All right. And so tenants do have rights. But guess what? Landlords have rights as well. And so this is why I shared this information. Red Carpet 43. Most people will accuse you of discriminating against them if you ask questions. That is a good point. Listen, that is the safest way to go if you do not ask specific questions about disabilities. Because here's why. Red Carpet, you got it. Don't get sued. It's simple. Even if you want to ask, even if you, sometimes I've had clients because I manage property as well. I have had clients. I manage property for some of my clients. I have had owners of rental property. They would specifically ask me for the tenant or the prospect or the applicant to show proof, meaning that they want to see in writing what the disability is. As long as they have some sort of medical document, please do not ask a person to prove or to tell you what their disability is. All right. Number one, it's against the law. But secondly, it could be embarrassing. All right. So I'll pause here for a moment. I'm not afraid to share that I do have some sort of disability. So I was in an accident in 2018. Someone literally ran over my foot, my lower leg and my foot. And so I walk normal unless I'm trying to speed walk. And obviously I can't run because that would be obvious that I have a limp. But usually I just have this cool little walk, and people ask, well, were you in the military? You just have this stern walk. Listen, I'm just happy to be walking. I'm just happy to be alive. But I have a disability. I don't have to disclose what my disability is if I was trying to rent. Okay. If I was trying to complete an application and I tell a landlord, listen, I want to rent your property, whether it's commercial, residential, I have a disability, that landlord can't ask me what my disability is. They can't say, oh, well, Karissa, what caused you to be disabled? Because I don't see a physical disability. It's not like you're in a wheelchair. A disability may be physical. A disability may be mental. All right. So, but for the sake of this conversation today, we are talking about mental health. So there is sometimes situations that prevent people from being able to think on a logical level, or to, some people say, well, common sense is not so common. When a person has a mental illness, common sense may not be common for them because they have a disability. So please be careful with things that you say to people. All right. That's so important. All right. Now, here's the thing. As a housing provider or a landlord, let's say for those of you who have rental property, all right, you have rental property, you're trying to fill your vacant units. If a person does not appear to have the capacity to complete the application, to complete the tour, it is okay to ask if you can reschedule it. Having the mental capacity to complete an application and to go through the process is going to be important. Do not, please do not enter into a rental lease agreement with someone who does not have the mental capacity to sign a lease. Here's why. Because if they have some mental illness, if they have some sort of mental disability, later, whether them or someone who's representing them can later come back and say they did not have the legal or the mental space to even agree to sign a lease, which means that they could probably take you to court to be released out of that rental agreement. All right, so please be careful. Please be safe. Please take notes of how to govern your business. All right. And many of you know, I have a very simple philosophy. If you treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business in many cases. I have friends of mine. They've never taken a property management class. They've never gotten a property manager's license. They are not real estate agents. And so they got into real estate as an investor, which people can do. You know, you have money, you want to invest, fine. They self-manage their property. They don't have formal education, but you still must be knowledgeable about the law. All right. So let me take a comment and then I'm going to get into my 3 points for today. All right, Dr. Baker, there are ways to ask questions that won't get you in trouble, especially when the disability is visible, like a wheelchair. As a landlord, you may want to make special accommodations to the property. Okay, forget this is regarding mental health. Oh, you forgot this is regarding mental health. But that's a great point, Dr. Baker, because some owners and landlords are not aware that they should make special modifications to their rental property. Now, I covered this in a previous live, Dr. Baker, whereas owners can definitely make modifications to their rental property. However, if it is a financial hardship, they can give the tenant permission to make those modifications, but they must be professionally installed. All right. So I don't want people to think that, people who are owners, I don't want them to think that they must do it. Now, there are certain circumstances and situations where, yes, owners are required. So let me just pause here, although I don't want to get too deep into this. So, for instance, if it is a HUD property, meaning that you have a contract with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, if you have HUD units, the landlord is required to bear the cost of whatever that modification is. In those situations, those landlords cannot tell the tenant they have to pay for anything. That would be against the law. So those are specifically for HUD units. So I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to confuse people. I know that there are people watching who rent to the voucher program, which is federally funded by HUD. That's very different. That's a separate program. So I don't want to confuse any people. All right. So Dr. Baker, you said, sadly, with some diagnosis, you need to know the side effect of mental health. When in a crisis, they could destroy the property. Now, that's a great point. But Dr. Baker, because you cannot ask as a landlord, landlords cannot ask the disability. So I can agree with you, but I can agree to disagree that you need to know what the side effects are of the mental health. All right, because you can't ask a person, landlords can't ask, they can't ask anybody what their disability is. So because you don't know the disability, you probably or likely won't know what the side effects are. But at the end of the day, even if there was some sort of situation that, and I've had tenants who have absolutely destroyed rental property. It hurt me to my heart to see it, but there was nothing I can do, right? You can't, as a housing provider, landlords cannot prevent people from tearing up their property, okay? There is no way to prevent that from happening, especially if there's a tenant in place with a mental disability. There is no way to prevent it. Now, if you see certain behavior, of course, you can speak to it. So for instance, I'm going to just throw this out there because this is a true story. There was a landlord who recognized that her tenant liked to take a bat and just put holes in the wall, like literally would just take a baseball bat and put holes in the wall. All right, because she claimed that people were coming through the wall trying to get her from the next door apartment. So what that owner did was bought that tenant a foam type of baseball bat. So like you see like you go to the Dollar Tree, the dollar store, and sometimes you might see the little flotation devices. And so it was pretty much just foam, but it was a baseball bat, but it was made out of foam. And so she gave that to the tenant. So when the tenant went to hit the wall with that foam baseball bat, it did no damage. So when you see the behavior, of course, you can address it and you can speak to it, but you can absolutely not ask a person what their disability is. So that brings me to my first point. Let me bring it up on the screen for you so that you can see it. Don't be nosy. Please don't ask a person what their disability is. And I know sometimes people want to know. Sometimes you just want to be sure. You just want to be safe. You want to prepare yourself as much as possible. But please don't be nosy by asking questions that will give you details about their mental health and their disability, because that could get you in trouble very quickly. Okay, so stay on the safe side, and you only ask questions pertaining to the lease, the rental lease agreement, and just other qualifying questions if they are in an application. All right. Here's a second thing. Discrimination against people who are mentally ill is illegal. It is illegal. You want a lawsuit filed against you? That's the easiest way to do it. So please stay out of the hot seat. Discrimination will get a lawsuit filed against you quickly. So when it comes to renting to people, you just want to keep in mind that people suffer, from a lot of things. But just know that it's definitely not okay to discriminate or to say that you're not going to rent to people because they have a disability. All right. You can't do it. And I know that sometimes people may be turned off. Maybe you don't want to rent to someone with a wheelchair because you don't want your walls scuffed up. You don't want the marks on the floor, right? Maybe there is an applicant or prospect, and when you come into contact with them, you can smell a strong presence of alcohol, right? And maybe that's a turnoff, all right? Maybe drinking liquor is a way for them to cope with whatever their disability is. Maybe that's their medication. Please make sure that you have an application criteria in place to handle all applicants. All right. You cannot discriminate against people because you're turned off by their disability. It's illegal. All right. And here's my third and final point for today is this. You can't evict them because they are mentally ill. You can evict. However, let me say this. You can definitely evict if there is a violation of the lease. The law does not prevent you from evicting them because they have violated the lease. Let me pause here and share this, because from one state to the next, the laws are going to be different. They may be similar, but they could be different. So in some jurisdictions, as long as a tenant is in place, all right, according to the law, all right, I'm not saying that this is the standard law for everywhere, but in some jurisdictions, tenants with a mental illness, even if they are destroying the property, as long as they are still in that rental property and paying their rent, they cannot be evicted. Now, in some jurisdictions, they can be evicted if it is a lease violation. But of course, they must be taken to court. Now, if they are tearing up the property, and let's say they go into the hospital or something, right? And they're out of the unit, then that's something different. But just know what the laws are in the particular jurisdiction that the rental property is in. And so if you are a tenant, or if you know a tenant who suffers from a mental disability and they need some help, I always suggest and recommend that people get the help that they need. Because at the end of the day, it is a business. Rental property owners, unless it's a charity, unless it is an organization that house people and don't charge tenants for payment, rental property owners are in business because it is a business. And because many of them either have watched, or heard me say that if you treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business. I definitely don't support anybody, whether it's someone of this caliber that have a mental illness or disability, or just a regular tenant that just doesn't respect the property. I am not a supporter of owners renting property only to have to dish out or shell out or pay thousands of dollars in money because of rental property damage. It's not fair to owners. And so if people need help, try to get them help, even if you're the owner. So if you have a tenant who's in the property and you recognize that your tenant need help, like I said, don't be nosy. Maybe gently offer your support. Maybe reach out to an emergency contact person. Maybe reach out to some sort of mental health organization that may be in that particular jurisdiction. I have done that for tenants of mine. I have tenants who they received help, and then I had tenants who just said, I don't want help, although they clearly needed help, but I couldn't force them to get the help that they need. We can't force people to want help. Some people don't want it. Some people are embarrassed. Some people are ashamed. It may be pride for others. Whatever causes people to not want help, we have to respect them. As housing providers, we have to respect them. And so this is why I share information. And so set a criteria for screening your applicants. Understand and know that you cannot discriminate. You cannot deny people housing because they have some sort of mental disability. All right. And you definitely cannot evict them just because they are disabled. And so those are my 3 points I wanted to share with you all today. And again, it is a continuation the entire month of May. I'm going to be sharing information. And so come back next Monday. I'm going to share more information. True story. Landlords do get sued because of what they don't know. What you don't know can and will hurt you as a housing provider. Because again, tenants do have rights. But then again, so do landlords. And so landlords, I need you to understand what your rights are. And if you don't know, then definitely speak to a landlord and tenant attorney. Speak to maybe a mental health agency in the area that your rental property is in, just to get a better understanding. Information that I share is not legal advice, okay? But I'm just sharing standard or best industry practice on how to best handle situations. We are coming out of I don't know if you're aware, but we're coming out of the eviction moratorium. All right. We're coming out of it soon. And a lot of landlords are going to be surprised to find that tenants are going to start filing lawsuits against owners. So please be aware that there are laws in place that protect tenants. And during the eviction moratorium, landlords have been doing things that they should not have. And I get it. Sometimes people will do what they want to do, regardless of whatever the law says, because people are going to just be people at the end of the day, right? But then there are laws and there are authorities that govern how people do business, or the lack thereof. And so I hope that this information was helpful. Again, this is what I do each and every Monday right here on my Facebook and YouTube page. Many of you know that I am also an adjunct professor. I teach property management. And then I also have a coaching business where I work one-on-one with landlords, training landlords and helping people to set up systems in place. And so I hope that you found value in this information. And like I said, share this with others each and every Monday right here at 7:30 p.m. You can find me sharing free information. You can ask all the questions you desire. Again, I'm in a DC metropolitan area. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you received an email from me, the DC Housing Providers Association. I will be facilitating that meeting this Wednesday, which is May the 19th from 6 to 7 p.m. If you desire a link to join me, I will be sharing information that is so helpful and beneficial, primarily for landlords who are participating in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. I enjoy making a difference. I enjoy showing up every week. And again, I came back from vacation just so that I could share this information with you. So I hope that you found it helpful and valuable. And like I said, share with others because sharing is caring. So like I said, if you're on Facebook, thank you. Please like my Facebook page. And please, again, friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I do thank you for joining me today. My time is up and I thank you for yours. And I look forward to joining you all next week at 7:30 p.m. right here. So I'm going to say bye for now. Oh, let me just ask, did anybody have any last minute question before I ended this live? I definitely want to make sure that I answer and cover all of your questions. I never want to end the session if people have questions. So Sissy, I see that you have tagged a couple of people. Kim, I see that you've tagged a couple of people. And I just want to say thank you so much for that. And so if you have any last minute questions, please let me know. I would definitely answer them. I'll take your questions and your comments. And if not, I will see you all next week.